Hi, Aqua Roomers. Time for chapter reading. Now, if you remember yesterday, Pa started to build the roof. I'll show you the picture, and then I want to talk about this a little bit. So, Pa is up on the roof, and these are the slabs of wood that he was able to cut. And he's nailing them onto the rafters. See the rafters, they go down? Ooh, and look at Laura and Mary. I wonder what they're doing down there. We're going to read about that. But there is a reason that Pa is nailing the slabs the way that he's doing. And I'm going to try to show you that. So I have some cardboard. Let's pretend this is wood, all right? Now, if this is the roof, it would actually be sideways like this. And the rain would come down, down, ooh, and it would go to the next one, ooh, go to the next one and keep on going. So the rain is able to go all the way down and not hurt the house or the roof. But if Pa had nailed the slabs onto the rafters this way, oh dear, oh, the water would go down, oh, the water would go down. If you have a clapboard house, a house that has slabs like this on the side, go take a look. I bet you're going to see that they are put together the same way that Pa did the roof. So shingles, slabs, clapboard, they all have to be done that way. I think that's fascinating, don't you? So here's the picture again. And let's read what's going to happen. Pa reached down and pulled up a slab. He laid it across the ends of the sapling rafters. Its edge stuck out beyond the wall. Then Pa put some of the nails in his mouth and took his hammer out of his belt, and he began to nail the slab to the rafters. Mr. Edwards had lent him the nails. They had met in the woods where they were both chopping down trees, and Mr. Edwards had insisted that Pa borrow nails for the roof. "That's what I call a good neighbor," Pa said, when he told Ma about it. "Yes," said Ma, "but I don't like to be beholden, not even to the best of neighbors." "Nor I," Pa replied. "I've never been beholden to any man yet." That's a great new vocabulary word, beholden. That means if somebody gives you something or helps you, you owe them back. "I never will be, but neighborliness is another matter, and I'll pay him back every nail as soon as I can make the trip to Independence." Now Pa carefully took the nails one by one from his mouth, and with ringing blows of the hammer, he drove them into the slab. It was much quicker than drilling holes and whittling pegs and driving them into the holes. Remember, he had done that with the doors. But every now and then, a nail sprang away from the tough oak when the hammer hit it, and if Pa was not holding it firmly, it went sailing through the air. Then Mary and Laura watched it fall, and they searched in the grass till they found it. That's what they were doing in the grass. Sometimes it was bent. Then Pa carefully pounded it straight again. It would never do to lose it or to waste a nail. When Pa had nailed down 2 slabs, he got up on them. He laid and nailed more slabs, all the way up to the top of the rafters. The edge of each slab lapped over the edge of the slab below it, just like I showed you. Then he began again on the other side of the house, and he laid the roof all the way up from that side. A little crack was left between the highest slabs, so Pa made a little trough of 2 slabs, and he nailed this trough firmly upside down over the crack. The roof was done. The house was darker than it had been because no light came through the slabs. There was not one single crack that could let rain in. "You've done a splendid job, Charles," Ma said, "and I'm thankful to have a good roof over my head." "You shall have furniture, too, as fine as I can make it," Pa replied. "I'll make a bedstead as soon as the floor is laid." He began again to haul logs. Day after day, he hauled logs. He did not even stop hauling logs to go hunting. He took his gun on the wagon and brought back at night whatever meat he'd shot from the wagon seat. When he had hauled enough logs to make the floor, he began to split them. He split each log straight down the middle. Laura liked to sit on the woodpile and watch him. First, with a mighty blow of his axe, he split the butt of the log. Into the crack, he slipped the thin edge of an iron wedge. Then he wrenched the axe out of the log, and he drove the wedge deeper into the crack. The tough wood split a little farther, all the way up the log. Pa fought that tough oak. He struck it with his axe into the crack. He drove blocks of wood into it, and he moved the iron wedge higher. Little by little, he followed the crack up the log. He swung the axe high. He brought it down with a great swing and a grunt from his chest. Ugh! The axe whizzed and struck. Plung! It always struck exactly where Pa wanted it to. At last, with a tearing, cracking sound, the whole log split. Its 2 halves lay on the ground, showing the tree's pale insides and the darker streak up its middle. Then Pa wiped the sweat from his forehead. He took a fresh grip on the axe, and he tackled another log. Imagine how hard that would be. So he has a whole log like this. And he has to start at the top with his axe, and if he gets a little crack, then he puts a wedge in it. And then he hammers that wedge, and it slowly starts to crack apart. That is hard work. At last, with that tearing, cracking sound, the whole log split. The 2 halves lay on the ground, showing the tree's pale insides and the darker streak up its middle. And then he tackled another log. One day, the last log was split, and the next morning, Pa began to nail the floor. He dragged the logs into the house and laid them one by one, flat side up. So if a log is like this, you know it's round. So when Pa split it, the inside is the flat side. And this will be the curved side, the outside. So Pa is going to lay them like this. The flat side up and the curved side down. That's interesting. With his spade, he scraped the ground underneath and fitted the round side of the log firmly down with it. So that's the bottom, it's the round side. With his axe, he trimmed away the edge of the bark, cut the wood straight so that each log fitted against the next, with hardly a crack between them. Then he took the head of the axe in his hand, and with little careful blows, he smoothed the wood. He squinted along the log to see that the surface was straight and true. He took off last little bits here and there, and finally he ran his hand over the smoothness and nodded. "Not a splinter," he said. "It'll be all right for little bare feet to run over." He left that log fitted into its place and dragged in another. When he came to the fireplace, he used shorter logs. He left a space of bare earth for a hearth, so that when sparks or coals popped out of the fire, they would not burn the floor. One day, the floor was done. It was smooth and firm and hard, a good floor of solid oak that would last, Pa said, forever. You can't beat a good punchin' floor. That's what they call that, punchin' floor. And Ma said she was glad to be up off the dirt. She put the little China woman on the mantel shelf, and she spread a red checked cloth on the table. "There," she said, "now we're living like civilized folks again." After that, Pa filled the cracks in the walls. He drove thin strips of wood into them and plastered them well with mud, filling every chink. "That's a good job," Ma said. "That chinking will keep out the wind, no matter how hard it blows." Pa stopped whistling to smile at her. He slapped the last bit of mud between the logs and smoothed it and set down the bucket. At last, the house was finished. I have a great picture to show you. Oh, look at this. So this is the floor. So each one of those is really a tree split in half. Think about that. And do you see the logs that he cut to use as chairs? When you remember the fireplace that he built. Oh, and look, from the underside, you can see that the roof is done. My goodness, that is a lot of hard work. Wow. "I wish we had glass for windows," Pa said. "We don't need glass, Charles," said Ma. "Just the same, if I do well with my hunting and trapping this winter, I'm going to get some glass in Independence next spring," said Pa. "And hang the expense." Oh, so Pa is planning the trip to Independence, to the big city. Oh my goodness, he has lots to do. So one last look at the house. Oh my goodness, Pa did a great job. So, great chapter. Did you enjoy that? I did. Until next time, Aqua Roomers. Bye.